What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Guys, today we are in our homemade paint booth. Before we jump into anything, we have the Focus RS tour part over there. We had to do a little bit of painting. The last time we talked, I was taking it to a professional, but the plans have changed. Give us a thumbs up, help us with the YouTube algorithm, and let's get these Focus RS parts painted. Here we are with the Focus RS in a pile of paint supplies. This is everything we need to paint the Focus RS. In my opinion, I don't think we can make this car look any worse. It's 3 colors. It's so sun faded. After a little fallout with the painter I was going to have paint this car, I decided I want to take the risk and I want to attempt to paint this car myself. I think it's worth the risk of learning. Oh, here we go. And it's already going south. To be honest with you, I don't know if this paint job is going to be perfect, but we have a practice hood over there I'm going to sand down. We have a truck bumper over there I'm going to sand down and paint before we even touch this car. After spending a few $100 versus well over $1,000 to have the car painted, in my opinion, I think it's well worth the learning experience. At the end of the day, we're going to see why these body shops charge thousands of dollars to paint cars. Honestly, if I learn how to paint and it turns out good, I'm going to save so much money on this project and any future project I get into. But if we mess it up, I mean, we're going to be out a few $100. I know it's no walk in the park, but worst case scenario, we take it to a professional. Here's the before of my homemade paint booth. We have some 9x12 plastic drop cloths we're going to be hanging up. My dad let me use the back end of the garage. He did say I have to cover everything and kind of build plastic walls because he doesn't want everything he owns painted. Well, here we are. We have the homemade paint booth built. It was quite a process. I mean, of course, this door is going to be shut so no wind goes in there and stirs up any dust, but it's about 10 foot wide. I do got to do something with that gap over there. Hopefully paint doesn't go underneath. So far, this is what I put up, and hopefully it'll keep the dirt out of the paint and, of course, the overspray out of the rest of the garage. But right now, let's jump to this project. I'm going to be sanding down this. This is my $3,000 F-150 I bought off Marketplace. I'd much rather mess this up than mess my nice car up, because to be honest with you, I've never actually painted anything. We got to start somewhere, so let's get this bumper sanded down. Update, it's the next day. We got the bumper sanded down the best we could. I think my sander is about shot. The screws are coming through the base plate, which is kind of ripping my sandpaper to shreds after a couple seconds of sanding. Hit it with some 80, some 120, and some 400 grit. In my opinion, it's pretty smooth, so the paint should lay pretty flat on it. I had to take care of some rust spots. The only imperfection we have would be this side right here. I had to chisel a section of rust out, but I don't have any body filler. But really, that's the only imperfection. Everything else, even on this side, is looking pretty good. Just got done masking everything off, hitting it with some Prep All, and we're gonna be mixing up some sealer. I think it's this one right here. And then I think we need to use some undercoat hardener. Let me get our mixing cup out. We're gonna read the instructions, get the mixing cup, see what we need to mix it to, and then we'll catch back up. I got the paint gun out. We got the air compressor adjusted to around 40 PSI, but then when I pull the trigger, watch this, it drops down to about 30. So I think that's how you're supposed to set it. Really don't know what I'm doing here. I just got done messing with all these knobs. I believe I set the right fan pattern. Here, I'm gonna spray this paper towel. Keep in mind, this is just water. About this far away, and I sprayed that one in the center. It looks like a pretty even spray, to be honest, so I think I'm gonna go with that. I got the phone over here. I'm in the middle of filming some TikToks too. I'm gonna get this open, figure out what mixture we need, and we'll jump right back. We're back. This is already getting messy. We got our first mixture of sealer. This sealer called for 4 to 1 to 1. So we mixed 4 parts sealer, 4 parts hardener, and then 4 parts reducer. I can't forget my painting attire, a rain poncho. That's gonna have to do for now. Ready to paint. And we got this mix. We're about to load it into the paint gun, and I'll see you over at the truck.
Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Your lies, I'll do what I want. The gas in the back of the set, she's so bad that the can't beat the back. The gas in the back of the set, she's so bad that the can't beat the back. I'm inspired by thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your...
I just finished up the first coat of sealer. Let me show you. The overspray is airing out. I first started spraying, it seemed like it was all going to the center, so I ended up readjusting my fan pattern. The first coat of sealer on pretty light, but looking at it, it looks like it applied pretty smooth throughout the bumper. This is my first time ever spraying the air gun. Right now, we're just waiting for that first coat to tack on, and then I'm gonna hit it with a second coat of sealer. Then later this evening, we're gonna hit it with some base coat, and then tomorrow morning, I'm going to clear coat it. Considering this is the first thing I ever painted with an air gun, hopefully it turns out nice. I mean, regardless, it's gonna look better than it did. Right here, we mixed up some black base coat with some reducer, mixed 1-to-1. About to load it into the paint gun. But let's take a look at our bumper first. That actually turned out better than I expected. The sealer's actually leveling out really nice. Should be dry, ready for some base coat. Then we're gonna hit it with some clear coat. Let's get our paint into the paint gun and paint away. Just finished up the last coat of base coat, and it's actually turned out really nice. A lot better than I expected. We gave it some time to flash. Now we're gonna move to the clear coat. So far so good. Honestly, the only hassle so far is cleaning the paint gun between each product. Just creates a little bit more mess. I'm not trying to blow through all my reducer, which I think a gallon is plenty extra, but I don't want to come close to running out. So right now we're gonna rip open the Finish One clear coat, and we're gonna mix it up, and we're gonna apply it to the truck. I just mixed up some clear. We're about to strain that in the paint strainer. It is ready to go with clear coat. This is turning out perfect considering the condition of the bumper prior to painting. After applying paint, considering this is my first time painting, I think we're doing pretty good. I just got done spraying the final coat of clear coat. Let's see how it turned out. In my opinion, it is night and day difference than what it was yesterday. Here's an up close. You can actually see my reflection, which is pretty impressive considering if you look real closely, the metal was kind of rippled from all the rust. Over here where I actually had to chisel a piece off, not too bad, but I mean, it is noticeable. Up close, you can definitely see some imperfections, but this side had some serious rust. You can see some ripple, but honestly, from a distance, if you squint, it looks mint. It's probably been about 15 minutes since I sprayed that last final coat. We'll check on it in the morning, see if it makes a difference. But yeah, that is my first paint job ever out of a spray gun. Pretty happy how it turned out. Just finished up my first homemade paint project. It's behind that paint booth over there. Yesterday we did quite a bit of paint mixing. This is a mess right now. I originally had a professional painter lined up to paint my car, but something come up, they couldn't paint it for some reason. No worries though, but honestly I was starting to get impatient because I couldn't look at my 3-colored Focus RS any longer. It was starting to become embarrassing to drive. I bought this car like a year ago. Sold. And it's been a project that was just kind of lingering. So after reaching out to some body shops about a quote, I decided I'm not paying that much money before I attempt to paint my car myself. I don't know what to expect. I know there's a lot that comes to painting. I know you have to... I'm just curious how hard it actually is. I don't know what to expect when it comes to painting, but I've been wanting to try to paint for a while because I know it's something that costs a lot of money, but I'm just curious how hard it actually is. After buying a bunch of paint supplies, the price of automotive paint should be a felony. Oh, this clear coat right here, just this Finish One products right here was around $120. That's the last part of it. You gotta talk about the sealer, you gotta talk about the base coat, but buying all the products is one thing. Now figuring out how much you need is another thing. For example, this 1 quart of base coat mixes at a ratio of 1-to-1 with reducer. So technically 1 quart of base coat is actually 2 quarts sprayable. Figuring out everything you need for the paint project you have is honestly probably one of the hardest parts. Because for example, we have a hood, we have a bumper, and we have 1 fender that we have to paint. But I can't just start painting that because I never actually painted with a paint gun before. So I wanted to get a little extra that we could practice on. So over here we have 2 hoods from the last 2 vehicles I fixed. I was thinking about sanding this down and attempting, but all that paint would actually technically go to waste.
Enter master password.
My garage keeps locking me out. So that's where this project came in. Let me show you guys what I painted. So a few weeks ago, I picked up a $3,000 2005 Ford F-150. That's a wrap to that paint project. A real popular term in painting is orange peel, but this right here is not orange peel. The underneath layer was not sanded flat. The more I sand it, the more it's flake off. Considering I didn't have any body filler, I decided to move on and just paint it. In my opinion, it's definitely not a proper way to repair an automobile. I should have spent more time sanding it, maybe body filler, all that. But as far as like the paint job on the smooth surfaces, like right here, I don't think that turned out too bad. Here, I actually had to chisel off. I think it turned out pretty damn good. I'm gonna take the paper off and we're gonna see how that new bumper looks against the paint. One project done. Thanks F-150 for taking one for the team. We got the ratchet out. You know what that means. It's time to paint the Focus RS. We got to get the hood, the bumper, the fender taken off, prep, and start spraying paint on it. Right now I'm going to remove those 3 pieces and then we're going to start prepping. I got the bumper all prepped, that's ready to be painted. I got the fender all prepped, that's ready to be painted. There's a couple imperfections on here I had to sand down. Change of plans. While prepping my hood, I found a little ding on the one corner. Since I want to make this look as professional as possible, if I don't fix that, it will show through the final coat. So my friend was nice enough to bring me some body filler. So I was able to fill the ding. It was a very small ding, but it was something that I just didn't want to skip. So that ding is fixed. I'm gonna use some prep all. Then we're gonna take it back to the paint booth and spray the first seal coat on it. Just got done mixing the first coat of sealer and we applied it. Ignore that, I had to adjust my fan pattern quite a few times. I just felt like it wasn't laying right. Here's the first coat of sealer on our fender. Right now it laid out pretty smooth. I am worried about the temperature in here since this is a metal building. The sun is beating on it and it seems like it's a little bit hot in here. Hopefully opening the door crack wasn't a bad idea. I hope it doesn't stir up any dirt. First coat on the bumper and it already looks way better because it was sun faded to no end. As far as the sealer, we have our first coat on this is the dark gray and it looks like it's covering very well. It almost looks like the bumper is vinyl wrapped, but no, that's just sealer and it's laying very, very smooth. I'll hit that with one more coat for that, and then we'll move on to the base coat. Okay, we're back and boy, did we mess up big time. Here's our bumper and we have our first coat of black and it honestly turned out really good. That and the fender turned out good for the base coat, but when I was spraying the hood, we had a little bit of an issue. When I was spraying the base coat on the hood, a couple of drips dripped out the top of the lid and landed on the hood. It actually burnt a hole right through my sealer in a few different spots. I didn't even see it leaking until after I walked past. We obviously can't apply base coat over that when it burnt directly back down to the original surface. So I had to re-sand that all back down. I still have a little bit more to do and then I'm gonna reseal it and then we're gonna base coat it with some black. Definitely an extra step, but I want a good paint job. So I figured we're gonna go back to square one, re-sand it, reseal it, and then we have to black base coat just like this one. Like I said, this is on its first coat. We're gonna do the second coat all together with the fender, which I moved outside. There, our bumper is resealed for the second time. We have black base coat in the gun. We're gonna give the bumper its second coat. We're gonna give the hood its first coat, and that reminds me, I gotta go get the fender that I have sitting outside. There she is. And I gotta give this another coat. Then we'll be moving on to clear coat. So many paint fumes in the air right now. I'm letting it air out for a little bit. We'll go in, we'll take a look at that final base coat. Final clear coat is done. Let's take a look. Here's the hood. It's still a little wet. but so far, so good. We have the fender over here. The paint is laying so smooth. And then we have the bumper over here, which looks absolutely fantastic, to be honest. The paint is laying so smooth. As long as we don't mess the clear coat up, we should have an amazing paint job. I'm so happy I practiced on my truck bumper first. I really needed that hand motion practice. As long as we can keep the dirt out of the wet paint tonight, we should be ready for clear coat in the morning. And yeah, that's a wrap for today. We'll see you in the morning. It's the next day now. Here is the final results of our base coat. Honestly, the paint could not have laid any smoother on our front bumper. I don't know if it just lays smoother on plastic or what, but that paint is laying so good. Now let's jump over to our fender. The fender is not looking too bad at all. Smooth paint, but not as smooth as that front bumper. Now the hood might be a little bit of a different story. Take a look at this. I can't tell exactly what's going on with the paint. When you look at it, it almost looks kind of uneven. I don't know if it needs another coat of base coat. I don't know if it needs a little bit of sanding, but it almost looks like there's shadows. It also could be the overspray on it. It doesn't look like the smoothest laying paint. So yeah, I gotta do some research, see what I need to do to the front bumper before I clear it, because once I clear it, there's no fixing the imperfections underneath. But as far as the front fender and the front bumper, I think those two are ready to be clear coated. Here's moments after applying the final clear coat. Here's the hood results, and I'm not 100% happy with the way it looks. Yesterday, after doing some sanding, we recoated it today with some base coat, and then I just got done with clear coat. The only problem is it didn't really disperse or level out, so we're gonna be having a little bit of orange peel. Same with the bumper. Tried to apply it as wet as I could without any runs, which I think I achieved. We do have some orange peel forming, and then dust started falling on it, but I think we're good there. I think the clear coat dried enough that I could probably sand that right off. Over here we have the fender. Everything's looking pretty smooth. Gonna have a little bit of orange peel, but nothing 2000 grit and a polisher cannot fix. Not to make any excuses here, but I think I do know what went wrong. So yesterday I had to postpone the project due to heat, and today I woke up extra early. It is 77 degrees outside, but I didn't take into account that we are in a metal building. And to make matters worse, we're using fast hardener, which if we look at the paperwork right here, fast urethane hardener, 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a problem because today it's 77 degrees outside right now. And then we're in a metal building with no airflow, so it's extremely hot in here. Now, if we walk out here and look at my Focus RS factory paint job, minus all the pollen, there, I wiped a little spot off. If you look, it might be a little hard to see on camera, but there's definitely some orange peel from factory. We got all of the car parts painted, and when you look at the hood, it definitely could have laid a little bit smoother. What we have here is essentially a bad case of orange peel. Not the end of the world, but it definitely adds an extra step. So today we picked up 1000 and 2000 grit sandpaper, a sanding block, and we're gonna be putting the polisher to use. This is not looking the best, so let's get this shined up.